What's going on, everyone? Jay Bryan here, and I want to welcome you to the Meaning of Introvert podcast. And today I have a extremely special guest here. So, of course, I've known her for years. She's one of my wife's best, or probably my wife's best friend in the world. She is. She has been amazing help in my life. So let me tell you a little bit about this wonderful person that I have on here. So, a few years ago, when I first met, well, it was about a decade ago, but a while ago when I met my wife, she introduced me to this person we have as our guest today. And I can honestly say that I've been impressed with her from the start. Um, Even more so impressed when she was writing her first book, which we're going to talk about that. When she was writing her first book, and she took time to actually talk to me and teach me how to write my own first book. So she didn't have to do that, but she did that. I've seen her catapult from where she started to the success that she's at now. I'm very proud of her. She's moving in confidence, she's moving in purpose. She's truly, as the name of her book entails, she's transitioning to the real and beautiful her. And so I want to introduce to you all Mrs. Sherry McMillan-Ballard. And Sherry, I appreciate you being on here today.
Yeah. I'm
Appreciate you.
definitely honored to be on here. So thankful that you asked me.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
Grateful.
yeah. I already knew. I figured I'd get you on here, but I didn't know if you were introvert or extrovert because you all know, listeners and people who are watching this on YouTube who watch the podcast, you know that we bring in introverts on here from different career fields, and we talk to them about their story, how they got to where they are now, and get tips and advice from them in those fields. But I didn't know. So when I texted Sherry and I was like, "Hey, are you an introvert or extrovert?" And I was hoping. I was like,
Fingers crossed.
he was like, "Introvert." I'm like, "Yes, let's go." I get her on the podcast. So you all. So again, I'm honored to have you here. Thank you for being on here. So first thing that I always start out with, I always start with this. This is important. How did you come to the point where you got into the career field that you got into? Obviously, you're an author, and I'll let
Mhm.
you explain the other things that you do, if anything. And but how did you get to that point where you were in on this entrepreneurial journey? What was the switch that kind of turned that on for you?
All right. Let's see how much time we have.
Or whatever you need.
All right, gotcha. So, I would say it was probably just a couple of years ago. There was this whole craze with the master classes and the master this and the training and all of this. And I was really interested in that because I'm like, I'm a social worker, but there's like more that I want to do. And I want to reach women and I want to talk to other women who kind of like struggled with, self confidence, in their personal life and their professional life. And so I decided to like create this whole masterclass thing. And it completely flopped. It was so terrible. And then I was on Instagram. I probably had liked something because you know how Instagram the algorithm
Ads,
is.
the ads pop up.
Exactly. And so my book coach, well, now she's my book coach, but at the time she was just like a stranger. And so her thing came up and she was like, tell your story and reach, so many women or whoever your audience is by writing a book. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to write a book. I kind
Yeah.
of thought about writing books like in college, but more so on the fiction side. I mean, I like stories, I still read fiction books now, but I'm like, what does my story like? Can I really put that in a book? Is it really going to get, is it really going to be something that other people want to read? And that's kind of where that went. And I reached out to her and I got into her program. And I was so nervous. I was so nervous. But it was a 90-day program and I wrote an entire book in 90 days. Like
Let's go.
insane. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
don't think if I would have gotten in her program that I've ever, I would have had that much discipline and the know-how to actually get it done from start to finish. So
Hmm.
that's what brought me to writing my book in a
And
nutshell.
I have to say, it is an amazing book. And y'all, and Sherry, you can attest to this. She didn't tell me to do this, but I've read this book, you all. And for those of you who don't know, the book is called, and I have it right here. I'm hold up to the camera. I have to hold it kind of close because of the blur. But what I'll do is I'll make sure and link this into the show notes if you're listening to this. And I will also make sure to provide the link to this on the description if you're watching this on YouTube. But her book is called Transition to the Real and Beautiful You. Transition to the Real and Beautiful You. And it's subtitled Accept Your Truth, Be Authentic, and Achieve Your Goals. Now, as Sherry mentioned, she wanted to reach women, a lot of women. I'm sure that Sherry, I don't know if you intended to reach a whole bunch of dudes that are out here, but
Yeah.
I mean, of course, I'm sure you were like, okay, if it reaches them, great, but
Yeah,
targeting women. Well, I'm here to
exactly.
tell you that I read this book that targets women and I loved it. I loved it. I learned a lot of stuff from here. One of the biggest things that I learned that I actually took and applied to my life was talking about looking at the ugly inside, that ugly
Mhm.
truth, and learn to face that. That allowed me to pause for a second. You know, I'm a very reflective and introspective person, so I took that time to look and face the ugly truth inside myself, and it
Yeah.
was very helpful, even from that day when I read it, and just making some slight changes in my life that have been positive thus far. And I've been able to keep it up because I faced the ugly truth. And I didn't even think to do that until I read this book. So, you all, I don't care if you're a guy, I'm a 32-year-old, 6'1" African American male. If you're listening to this, you don't see my face. I'm telling you, it's a great book. So check it out. I'll have the links. So yeah, and that is amazing that how you got to this point, Sherry.
Mhm.
We're all glad that you made it to this point. So this second question for you with what you do as a writer, this will be kind of different from previous interviews because introverts we really like more. We tend to like more passive forms of communication. For
Mhm.
example, writing,
Yep.
emails, text, as opposed to phone calls, meeting up in person to talk about it. We can discuss things, we can communicate, but we prefer more passive forms instead of more active, like in your face forms where we have to
Mhm.
think quickly. So with writing, it's something that introverts can kind of naturally lean into. So
Yeah.
you as an author, was there anything that you found tough about being an author with writing your book? I know you mentioned before you talked about you didn't know the discipline. The discipline was
Mhm.
helpful to you in your coaching program. Was there anything else you found tough being an introvert and deciding to be an author?
I found it tough just honestly trying to share my actual story, like share
That
the
makes sense. Yeah,
actual things. Yeah. And like really kind of having some of those vulnerabilities and then having people
that's
say
tough.
stuff back to me. Yeah.
Yep. Right.
That's tough too. We kind of like want to
Tough.
stay in our own little shell, own little box, and like, okay, keep your comments to yourself, please.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that's been tough as well. And I didn't mention, but from being an author, I am also going into speaking. And so with that in mind, my coach is also, she says that word that I get so scared with, and it's networking. And I feel like that's the toughest thing for me as an introvert is to network and to, just be putting yourself out there and starting conversations with
Absolutely.
people for no reason, other
Absolutely. Like,
than
who
just
are
to
you? Why are
introduce
you talking to
yourself.
me? Like, why would I want to
Exactly,
talk to you in the
exactly.
first place? Because I don't like networking.
I know.
Absolutely.
But that's that keyword out there, and it's oh my gosh, it
Yeah.
gives me
So,
goosebumps right now.
like it sounds like, and of course, you mentioned, you know, some of the things that were tough going into being an author, but we never thought about. I know a lot of the listeners probably never thought about transitioning to the next step after the writing, which is the speaking in your case, and it involves
Yes.
networking, something that
Mm-hmm.
we as introverts, we naturally tend to not want to do it as much. I read a book a few years ago. It was actually, I think it was called How to Network for People Who Hate Networking. I don't even remember, but it resonated with me because
I
I
need that.
too hated networking because the
Mm-hmm.
rules of networking as they're taught were taught for extroverts.
Yep.
I- It We live in a society, and Susan Cain attests to this in her book, Quiet. Um, we live in a society that in the United States, where me and Sherry live. Of course, you all may live in different countries and continents, but we live in a society that is catered to the extrovert ideal. In the U.S., it's
Mm-hmm.
way the U.S. is extremely extroverted, as is a lot of
Yes.
the Western hemisphere of the world. And so networking as it's taught and many other things as they're taught are for extroverts. So when I saw this book, I was like, I don't like it networking like that. Oh, check that out. And so
Right.
I read it, and it really changed my life as far as networking. Now, mind you, in a few years ago, before that book, I was in direct sales for a little bit. And it was one of the toughest things ever because I was out in person, Sherry, walking up to people, like trying to
Oh,
network
wow.
stuff, build a relationship right then and there. That's not me. It's not naturally me. I could do it, but it wasn't naturally me. So when I
Mm-hmm.
found this book, it was life changing. And one of the main things they said for we introverts is to go in, go in with a goal of how many people you want to meet, and
Mm.
make sure that that goal remains low. For example, one person. Go in seriously. Go in with the intention. And I never thought about this. I don't know why. I'm
Yeah.
just like, let me go network with everybody, not knowing
Right.
that I get the introvert shutdown. So I went in. So I started to go in with a goal of meeting one new person to networking events. And I've never strayed away from that. And it's been amazing because I have enough energy to meet one new person and
Yeah.
exchange information, talk to them. So I've been doing that, and it's been very helpful as an introvert with networking. I can definitely, so I feel you, and I know that a lot of listeners feel you. That networking thing is, it's a beast if we do
Oh,
it, try
yeah.
to do it like the extroverts do.
For
So,
sure. I love
so
that one. That
yep, a
one
goal of
now. Oh
one,
man,
two
I'm
people
taking
at
that with
most.
me.
I'm serious. I'll meet one person and leave. Are you ready to go? Yeah. In fact, I drive. I usually tend to drive separately so that I can leave after I meet that one
Yeah.
person. And it's been successful. I've met some amazing people doing it. So
Mhm.
yeah. So but
Nice.
yeah, networking, I can definitely feel how that can be tough. So in your journey as an author and transitioning into a speaker as well, um, what has been probably your biggest failure in your career slash business so far, and what did you learn from it? How did you overcome it, and what did you learn from it?
Okay, so I think my biggest failure was the fact that okay, the coaching program to for me to write my book in 90 days was in 2018.
Mhm.
And so I nope, it was 2019. It was 2019. And when I got done with that, I moved into publishing
Mhm.
the latter part of the year. And so March of 2020, my book was published on Amazon. But because I was overcome with like fear of just from everything to, oh, I'm sharing my story. Is it good enough?
Mhm.
Um, is this the right time? Because this was right at the beginning of this world crisis. You
Absolutely.
know, everything was just on me at once and it was published and then I like took it down. And I literally sat with that book for an entire year and then republished until this year. And I really feel like the failure there for me was giving into the fear. And what I've been learning about fear, just for me personally, because I feel like I'm in uncharted territories right now. Sure, I was in school and I can go to school. I became a career student,
Yeah.
and I've even taking doctoral classes. So those things are all are fine for me. I can do those things. I can work my job. I know my duties, I know my responsibilities. I clock in at 8, I clock out at 5. But right now, with everything with the entrepreneur just journey is so unknown, and there's so much fear there. And so what I've been learning about fear is that it's always going to be there. The fear is always going to be there, but it's your bravery and your courage that has to be just a little bit stronger, just one notch
Mhm.
stronger, just to get you over that hump. And I would say that probably was just the biggest thing that I learned from that. I still beat myself up a little bit every now and then that I didn't start this whole process last year. That way, I was just like, oh, I could be that much further along. But
Right.
it is what it is. I learned a valuable lesson when it comes to that fear thing. And whenever I am fearful about some stuff, I kind of just start digging deeper just within myself. I'm like, what am I really scared of right now? What's the truth about what I'm scared of, and what is it that is inside of me that's trying to protect me maybe from failure? Because I feel like that was what it was a little bit for me as well.
Yeah, let me get my wallet. You should be charging for that. That you just drop. You might as well go ahead and charge for the keynote. So very good. If you're getting into speaking,
Yeah.
let me tell you, you're doing a great
Oh,
job. That was great. That was
I
very good.
appreciate it.
You had the story, you had the principle, you had what you learned. Yeah, you got it. Let's go.
That's my
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, you got it. So that was amazing. And thank you for sharing that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that. I know that there's people, I know there's introverts especially who listen to this podcast who will they may want to be authors one day, and they may experience some of that same fear that you're mentioning, and they may
Mhm.
fear, what may people think, or can
Yes.
I do this, or am I capable of achieving this? And they have these things they want to achieve, and that fear can be very strong. And I know from
Oh
personal
yeah.
experience, it can be extremely strong. So thanks for sharing that. Thanks for being authentic with it.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
so for someone that wants to be an author, wants to put a book out like you did,
Hmm.
what are the top 3 things that you recommend they do to start? Because a lot of people want to do what you do, but you've done it. So
Yeah.
what's the first 3 things that you would advise for someone who just wants to start that journey? First 3 things. You told me these things before. You told me because we talked over the phone. You helped me when I was beginning my writing process for my book, which hasn't come out yet. The shameless plug, it will eventually.
Hey.
Um, but I did finish it. So shout out to Sherry for helping me.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
I'm sure it'll be some of the same things. Tell the audience, someone who's wanting to do something similar to what you've done, what are 3 things you recommend to start?
Oh man, I would say the number one thing is just to know and affirm that you can actually do it. I
Right.
wasn't even going to say that, but I have to say that. Just know that you can do it. And just keep reminding yourself of that. And I would say the second thing would be to look at look at your story, your life, because we all come from different walks of life, different situations, different circumstances.
Hmm.
And just look at that. What do you want to give to the world? And in turn, what does the world need
Hmm.
from that? And I guarantee you, it's going to be something. It's going to be something. And I would say probably the last and final thing is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't sit there, knowing that you can do it,
Right.
knowing that you got this story and you want to share it. And then you're just sitting there because a lot of times you will do that. I mean, I even find myself doing that now with just a few other creative ideas that I have, just sitting there like, oh my gosh, I'm on Google, I'm trying to search, I'm on YouTube, I'm trying to figure everything out. Ask for help. It's out there and it,
Absolutely.
and it can be done.
Absolutely. That was some great stuff. So just to recap the great points that Sherry just dropped. Again, if you're listening, you might get an invoice. because she's not playing with y'all. All right. So first thing, and I'm taking notes myself. So affirm yourself, know that you can do it. The
Mhm.
second thing, look at your story and pull out what you know will help people,
Yes.
because everyone has a story. Everyone has a story, regardless. It's just up to us to go into it and pull out the things that we know can help people. And the third thing that Sherry said was, don't be afraid to ask for help. That is heat. That
Mhm.
is powerful. I love it. And and very, very good points. Very good points. So if you're looking to be an author and you're wanting to start off and you need just to know where to begin, Sherry just gave three great tips to start off on that journey. And really, that's applicable to many other journeys as well.
Yeah.
So not even
Oh
just
yeah.
author, many other journeys. So um, thank you for that. So by the way, you all, this podcast has been brought to you by the Job Interviewing for Introverts Masterclass, June 19th, 2021. If you are trying to achieve something for your family, get a job so that you can take your family on vacations. If you have been job interviewing, haven't been getting them, and wondering what's going on, it's because a lot of the things that you have learned about job interviewing, even if you've received coaching, taken courses, most of the time, again, is catered towards extroverts. So if you're an introvert trying to apply those things in the job interview, it's not it's not going to work as well for you. They work, but they may not work as well. So if you have been trying and trying and trying and wondering what's going on, what am I missing, or wondering can you do this, can you get that job and make that money, take your family on vacations, travel, start that business, whatever you're wanting to do, come to this free masterclass, Job Interviewing for Introverts, June 19th, 2021. The link to register will be in the show notes on Anchor if you're listening to this, or whatever platform you're listening to this on. And the link will also be in the YouTube description if you're watching this. So Sherry just dropped three powerful nuggets on us. And again, I told her she should be charging. All right. But she told me not yet. She said
I
not
know,
yet, but
right?
I'm gonna hit y'all
Not yet.
soon with a so all right. So Sherry, as an author, what are two resources that you recommend to other people, other introverts who want to become authors? Just two resources that you like to use.
Google, Uncle Google
Uncle
is
Google.
your
Okay,
best
let's go.
friend.
Love Google
Yeah.
University. Yep.
And I would say script, which is a book. It's kind of like Audible, except for there are books that you can read on there too. So yeah, the way that you pronounce it is actually script. And
Spell it.
Uncle Google for research, like that story that I was saying that we all have. Just research some of the things that other people are talking about that are similar to your story.
Hmm.
That will definitely help. And then getting on there and reading books, man. Read, read, read.
You spell it. Spell it for me.
It's going to be SCRIBD.
That's script. Oh my god, I've been pronouncing that
On
wrong my whole life.
I have
I've
too,
been
but
saying
I seen
scribe
a
my whole life.
commercial. I seen me and Trey, we seen a commercial that said it was script, and we're like, yeah, no, we're gonna call it scribe. But
Right.
I want to get on here and I
I
want to be
got you. I
professional for
got you.
you.
Well, I appreciate it. I did not know. I'm gonna start calling it script too. And
Yeah,
Brianna's
yeah,
gonna be like, and y'all, Brianna's my wife, by the way, and she mentioned Trey. That's her husband. And
yeah.
me and her husband are really good friends. Well, best friends actually. And
I was about to say.
I'm gonna start saying script, and Brianna's gonna be like, "What are you talking about?" It's
Right.
okay though. I'm gonna tell her it's right. I know from research,
Yeah,
so that's good. Okay, so
yeah.
Google.
But using script, yeah.
Okay, okay. So Google University, or Uncle Google
Mhm.
as you call it, I love it.
Yep.
And script. Awesome, awesome. So those were two great resources. And again, Sherry is dropping knowledge that is applicable to other industries as well. So she's
Yeah.
talking about being an author. That was her path, her journey. You may have another path or journey. You may not want to be an author. You may want to be a coach, consultant. You may want to work in landscaping. I'm just saying random stuff because
Hmm.
this is applicable to multiple fields. So who are the so Sherry, if you could pick three people that have been most influential to you in your career, not your
Okay.
personal life, in your career, who would those people be?
Hmm. I would say probably I don't laugh at these, okay?
I'm not gonna laugh.
Especially the first two.
Trust me.
No judgment, okay, to
No
your
judgment at
listeners
all here.
either. So the first person is probably gonna be Oprah.
Okay.
And it's because I'm from Kosciuszko, Mississippi. She did live there for just a few years. She's not necessarily from there, but anyway, not to go into all that. But I always love um just like talking and like pretending like I have my own TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was always an inspiration. And I grew up in the era of the Oprah Winfrey show. It was always
Absolutely.
on after school with my mom. So yeah. The second person, no judgment, it's gonna be Beyonce. And I
No
would
judgment at all.
I
Trust me. I'm not judging. There's no judgment happening here.
know.
Trust me.
Yes, my friends who know me are not at all surprised by this, but the what I get from Beyonce, honestly, just I can fangirl all over her for whatever reason, but I just really like the confidence that she has.
She
And
does.
I really respect her even more in her story, especially when she branched away from her dad. And I really feel like that was a moment in her life where she had to stand up for herself, her real and her authentic self. And I
Yes.
feel
I
like,
agree. Yeah.
yes,
I remember that from
yeah.
the
And
documentary.
so
She talked about that.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I really feel like that takes a lot of courage in itself to one, if you do that just with regular people and they're like, oh, she seems different, but you're doing that with family, that's some of your closest relationships, and you're branching out and they're like, you're a brand new woman. Like, we don't even know you anymore. So I respect
Absolutely.
that so much, so much. And then the last person is going to be Brene Brown.
Good old Brene
She
Brown.
is, yeah, she's a social worker. I'm a social worker too. And when I was getting my master's in social work, I was introduced to her just from one of like, not to her personally, but just her journey and
One
everything.
day. One day.
Yeah, exactly. And I just love how she speaks, and she is an introvert as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she
I
talks
can kind of
about
tell when
that.
people are introverts how they speak. I can
Yeah.
tell, and I don't know it's weird, but I've kind of figured
You got introvert senses.
it must be the introvert senses. I love it.
Right. I remember she has several books, but one of her books is based on some research that she did. And it's not even, I love the kind of research that she does. It's on like people's feelings and things like that.
Hmm.
And I feel like sometimes in just the research world, that can be like left off a little bit. It kind
Definitely.
of goes more into like, it can get very sciencey.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the feelings, that can be all over the place. But to be able to do that and to get that synthesized inside of a book, I think that's awesome. So she's an
Yes.
inspiration as well.
Oprah,
Mhm.
Beyonce, and Brene Brown. Those were Sherry's three most influential people in her professional
Yes.
career. So
Hmm.
you all, and she spoke about how each one of them were an inspiration to her and why they were inspirations to her. So that was some very, very, very good insight about each one of them. That was really good. That's going to help somebody. Let's see. So we're coming up on the end. We're close to the end. You've done an amazing
Hmm.
job. So, Sherry, let's switch places for a second. If you were the interviewer,
Okay.
if you were interviewing me, what would you have asked me? Or I'm sorry, let's switch places. Let's say that you were the interviewer. Yeah. If you were the interviewer, what would you have asked me that I haven't asked yet? What's one question you would have asked?
Let's see. I think a good one is always like, what would you tell your younger self?
Okay. What would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Oh my gosh, so much. Woo. you try not to live with regret because everything you learn from,
Yes.
there's a few times in there. But
Yeah.
I would tell my younger self to just do it afraid, do it anyway, and not to be so serious. Oh my gosh,
Absolutely.
I feel like I still do that a lot now, like being very serious and being very focused on my goals. And I'm like, nope, I cannot do that because I've got to do this, this, and this
Yeah.
today.
Right.
All right. We've got to get this done.
Yep.
But just knowing that it's okay to just cool it and not do anything. Like
Yeah.
if
Just
that's what you want
relax.
to
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Awesome. That's some great advice. That's some
Yeah.
very good advice. And I love how you phrased that and talked about that. So, second to last question, where can people connect with you online? Where can they find your book? What's your website? Social media? Shameless plug it all.
Hey, no problem, no problem. So I will shameless plug. I do have my books right here.
Clear
And
in HD. Because when I was
yes,
showing it looked like
exactly.
I had one eye closed. It was crazy. So I'm glad you're showing it.
Yeah, no problem. So all of my handles are the same. It's Sherry McMillan-Ballard. Sherry McMillan-Ballard on Instagram, Sherry McMillan-Ballard on Facebook, and SherryMcMillanBallard.com is where the book is. And right now, all purchases with the paperback, um, the audiobook is included as an instant download. So yeah, that's what I have going on.
It's a very good audio book too. I did listen to
Yeah.
the audio book as well. So
Oh, good stuff.
yeah, some good it was good. It was very good. So you all connect with Sherry. She told you all where to connect with her. Just for listeners who may be trying to guess, how do you spell out Sherry McMillan for them? Spell out your website or your social media handle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you asked that. I was gonna do that, but I didn't. Like I have like so many letters in my name. So anyway, Sherry is Sherry. Macmillan McMillan. Ballard Ballard.com.
Perfect. So there you all heard it. That's how you connect with her, and she spelled it out. So your excuse cannot be that you're misspelling it. I couldn't find
Exactly.
you could. Nope. She just spelled it out. Okay. And I always wrap up every interview like this, Sherry. So this is the meaning of introvert podcast. I'm an introvert.
Mhm.
You're an introvert. They're introvert. Our audience is introverts, and we know that things can sometimes they have to be done differently by us. We can do the same things. They just have to be done differently, approached in a
Mhm.
way that works for us.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, my final question is: what does being, forget technical definitions, to you? What does being an introvert mean to you?
To me, being an introvert means whew, having boundaries and
Good.
self-awareness. Um, and I think a little bit of grace too. Because you talked about this in the beginning, how so much of the world, the circles that we're in, extrovert is like
Extrovert ideal.
exactly that's
Yeah.
where you need to be. That's where you
Yeah.
need to be. But just a little grace to let yourself know, or letting myself know as an introvert that I don't have to be. That's not the gold standard. I can do it the way that I want to do it, and it can be done just as great.
Amazing. That is
Yeah.
amazing. So thank you so much, Sherry. Again, I'm very proud of you. Not that you need to hear it from anybody, but you're doing amazing things. You all
Thank you.
connect. Make sure and connect with Sherry. Again, I'm Jay Bryan. This is the Meaning of Introvert podcast. And remember, your outside needs what's inside. It
Oh
needs
yeah.
what's inside you. Y'all have a great one. Peace.
Thank you.